What is up, everyone? Sorry for being a little bit tardy. At 5:58, the VA called me. And if you guys are military or know anything about the VA, when they call you, you need to answer the phone because 2 months later, you may be able to get them back on the phone again. But we are here for the live stream, guys, talking about the Tacoma, driving impressions, pricing, MPGs, all that stuff. Wanted to give you guys a kind of in-person video about my driving impressions instead of just a video talking about it, really, because this way, if you guys have questions about it, something specific, I'm able to hopefully recall that and talk about it in this live stream. So we got a ton of messages already up in here from Marco, how's it going? Blake, Greg, Michael, Paul, people signing in early and commenting really early, which is pretty awesome. How's everyone going? So the way these live streams work, if you guys are new, we get pretty far behind. We definitely get 10, 15 minutes sometimes behind. So if you guys really have a question that you want me to answer, either wait or I'll get to it, or you can comment after the fact and I will try to comment, just there on normal YouTube. But you guys can answer or ask any sort of questions you guys want about the Tacoma now that the embargo is up. And I will preface this, and I'll probably say it multiple times during the live stream, is that we don't have hybrid information yet, and that was not part of the drive event at all. But we got tons of people up in here, so guys, if I miss the comments, I am usually really, really good with it, but this seems like it's gonna be a popular live stream. So guys, how's it going? Andy, Isaiah, Patrick, and when you guys answer or ask questions, I will put them up like this. So we got Patrick's question from back at 6 o'clock. So we're already 6 minutes behind, which is awesome. So Patrick says, any idea on premium packaging on the TRD off-road? I've seen Canadian pricing was 58.3. So I did actually get this, and I will be making a video tomorrow for you guys. The dealer that is doing my new Tacoma, now that the embargo stuff has lifted, I guess the dealerships, they have packaging. They have packaging prices, accessory pricing, all that stuff. I asked my contact at Toyota if I can, make a video about this information, and they said, yeah, you can. So the premium packaging for the TRD off-road, and I'll just say this now, and it's gonna be all on my video, is about $8,800, which I need to compare that to the current TRD off-road to see where that really is at. But it's looking like my future truck is going to be close to $50,000 for a Tacoma TRD off-road premium. So we'll break that down in that video, but I do want you guys to know that all the packaging information is out there, and I'll have that in a video coming. Isaiah, how's it going, man? Emmanuel, what is up? I had two 18 4-cylinder SR5s. I think thus far it will be an upgrade for sure. That last 4-cylinder, I mean, obviously if you had two, that's perfectly fine, but this new one actually kind of packs a punch, even with the tuned down 2.4 cylinders. Alejandro says, should I go for a 23 TRD off-road for a discounted price? Of course. I mean, the last gen Tacoma, it's gonna be tried and true, right? And that's why those values are gonna stay pretty decent for a while, is because of the uncertainty of the new powertrain. But I'll tell you that the new one drives a lot better than the old one, but the old one has proven itself. So if you can get one for a good price, definitely try that. Andy says, what can you tell me about the tricolor sport options? So I'm gonna make a short about this one. They have like a nice dark gray interior, a white interior. Oh my gosh, this thing is doing my thumbs up thing again. A nice white interior, and also a blue interior, which is very, very cool for the TRD Sport. So that one's gonna be awesome that you can do all those different options, and it looks pretty good too on the interior. I think Toyota Jeff, he posted a video about that, the different interiors and stuff, but it was one of our videos that, I'm just closing some apps. It was one of our videos that we had to take down when Toyota said, hey, wait for all videos to be during the 28th for that time. So I know that he has a video on that. I'm just not sure when he's gonna repost it. So if you guys are just joining in, what is the price of the TRD Pros and the hybrids? Unfortunately, we don't have that right now. So those are gonna be coming out around first quarter into second quarter of next year, kind of like what they did with the Tundra guys. It was around March, April that the Tundras came out. So with this first wave of Tacomas, that's how it's going to be. It's going to have its own separate drive event and everything for us as well, just like the Tundra did. So I would assume around March, April timeframe. That's what I'm telling people when they ask me. Hopefully it's sooner, but it's looking to be around April. Coradetti, how's it going, man? Hope that new Tundra is working for you. Hope it's doing great. I need to catch up on the videos. And everyone that's joining in, this is the most people we've ever had in a live stream. So if you guys are new to the live streams, I don't want to be overly repetitive for the people that are staying the whole time. But if you guys are new to the live stream, if you want to leave a like to let everyone know that we're going. But I get pretty far behind on comments. We get pretty far behind on comments because I want to let you guys, get a good answer instead of just a quick kind of half-assed answer. But the focus tonight, guys, is Tacoma stuff. So most of the questions I'll answer. If we get really far behind, I may skip some questions. Really want to focus on Tacoma stuff for the drive event and how everything was. But Jason says, when do you think the configurator will be live? Not sure yet. I messaged one of my contacts at Toyota to say, hey, will there be a configurator that goes live today as well, so I can mention that in videos as I was editing it? And they said no, they're not really sure when the configurator will be live yet. So they kind of have like a demo site that they make sure that everything works and all the stuff, when you click a package, it shows up on the truck and there's no like glitches and stuff. They try to make sure all that stuff is on point before sending it out into the public. Emmanuel, how's it going? Patrick says, would you buy the manual or stick with the auto? So the manual for this truck is actually really good. And I'm not a manual driver. I don't have sports cars or anything like that. And the last time prior to this event, driving a manual was at in Utah for the GR Corolla, the GR Supra, and the GR 86. So I hadn't driven a manual in maybe a year and a half, close to 2 years maybe, whenever those cars came out. And I was able to drive this truck, no problems. I did stall it a couple times, but I was able to drive the truck, no problems in the canyons. And then also on the off-road course, I was able to drive the manual. And I don't think I stalled it at all on the off-road course, maybe once. But the manual's great. If you like a manual, it does have a longer throw with it. I mean, it's a truck, right? You're not gonna have a short shifting truck. And the clutch release point is actually pretty high. Like when the clutch is depressed all the way and then you lift your foot up a bit, it catches like really high. But the cool thing with this truck is the IMT, the Intelligent Manual Transmission. So you can pretty much drive or let off the clutch and not have your foot on the gas, and the truck is pretty much stall proof. Like if you're at like a super high incline and stuff and the truck maybe has some weight on it and it's like shuddering, and you may have to give it a little bit of gas, but for the most part, like the truck is pretty much stall proof. Personally, I'm going with an auto just because the auto is new, right? And that was one of the Achilles is the auto and the way that it was tuned. So I'm personally going for the auto, but if you like a manual transmission, definitely go for that. Packages, answer that one, Emmanuel. How's it going? Matt says, curious if anything from the current gen you prefer over this one. That's a very good question. The thing that I do like about the current gen is that it already has, obviously, it's been out for 8 years, but it has off-road and just overland support already from companies. Tons of stuff, right? But the new one's gonna take off like wildfire. I know that for this one. So really, there's not much, and there's not much that I would prefer on the old gen compared to the new one. I think older or later in its life cycle, right, the third gen has a lot more feature standard, like dual zone climate control is standard on models, the automatic seats is standard on models, but it took 8 years to get to that point. When these trucks first came out, it wasn't standard features across the board, right? So like when you see these new trucks, in order for them to keep the price competitive, like with the outgoing model, they're not gonna offer all the same standard features that the third gen already has, which sucks, right? Because you're like, well, the Tier D off-road now, you have dual climate control, you have this, you have that. Well, when that truck first came out, you didn't have it. But as the model year kind of went on and things got cheaper and Toyota got in their groove with stuff, obviously instead of making a killing on the cars, they were cool to, make some of that stuff standard features, and while also raising the price in the truck with inflation. But I think what I would miss to answer your question to wrap that up is just the standard features that the 3rd gen has that the 4th gen now doesn't have as standard features that you now have to pay into that eventually will be standard features in the future, if that makes sense. No MPG for hybrids or pricing, nope. Chris says TRD Sport or off-road as a daily driver with a couple hunting trips per year. That's a good one. Probably the TRD off-road, honestly, just because the suspension was a bit softer. So the Sport was fun if you want to like really drive your truck good as like a sport truck. Like that's the one thing I noticed with all these different trucks. I was able to drive the SR5, the TRD off-road, the TRD Sport, and the pre-runner. So I was really able to drive 4 trucks. And I think my favorite was the TRD off-road just because of how kind of soft it was on pavement. The Sport was like, it would handle really good on pavement. The SR5 was just like a normal truck. It was a lot more comfortable than the outgoing gen. But my surprise favorite was kind of the TRD pre-runner, like with the, what are they called? Leaf springs in the back. So that one, for some reason, I don't know if it's just because that truck was the lightest of the bunch, right? The rest were double cabs, heavier trucks, more options on them. But the TRD pre-runner, that one was sporty and really, really fun. But to answer your question, probably I would go with the TRD off-road just for the simple fact of when you do off-road, you know, maybe it's some hairy situations, but I know that the TRD Sport will be more than capable off-road if you get a 4-wheel drive model. Brandon says, hey John, I was looking to buy a TRD Sport, but after seeing the prices of the TRD off-road, it's almost the same. Would you recommend I basically just kind of answered this. Off-road. I personally would do off-road unless you like the styling of the Sport. Definitely off-road. Payne says, what will the standard TRD off-road trim, what will come standard on the TRD off-road trim? Mainly interested in the 14-inch screen, sway bar disconnect, and heated seats. So when I make the video tomorrow, I'm going to show you guys kind of the packaging breakdown. But as of right now, what it looks like is it's almost like you can add these things here and there on the truck. But of course, you know, dealerships are going to do packages on the truck, and you may find certain ones here and there that just have certain parts with them. But I think that you can get the screen separate, you can get heated seats separate, and you can also get the sway bar disconnect separate. So even though I'm looking to hopefully get a TRD off-road premium just with all the bells and whistles, just to see how it is, plus I enjoy trucks with a lot of features, I still have to pay extra for the sway bar disconnect if I'm looking at the price breakdown properly. But I'll cover all that tomorrow. So they haven't released hybrids yet. Nope. So hybrids, all that stuff, hopefully April, guys. We'll see. 35s fit stock. Oscar, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be pretty dang close. I have a whole video talking about the frame with Craig, one of the powertrain engineers. I believe he's chief powertrain engineer for body-on-frame vehicles. He did Tundra, did the Land Cruiser, did the Tacoma, other future vehicles potentially too, right? But looking at the frame there, I noticed something different on the frame versus the Tundra. And it comes to where the Tundra has the cab mount and also that little bit of a piece that you can take off for like tire impact. The Tacoma has like all that flat, like it's about like maybe an extra inch or two, but if you peel back that little curtain, you can see that there's a bolt there, and you can take that whole thing off, and then it's just this flat piece, and it's an extra like 2 inches. And the truck there, for that example, had 33-inch tires, so pretty sure 35s will fit on this truck with very minimal, you know, trimming or worry about that. Steely Dan, what's up, dude? Says, I'm curious about the SR5 premium manual transmission drivability. So the only SR5 I was able to drive was the 4-door 6-foot bed. And even though that truck was an automatic transmission and a 6-foot bed like a boat, it felt nimble and it felt like it had power, and it was very, very nice. So Toyota basically put us in the canyons of Malibu, which if this was a GR event, that would have been like the best driving experience ever, because the winding mountains and the views and everything, it was just so crazy. It was so good. But like the fact that we were in a truck there was just, now the VA is calling me again. I can't answer because I'm with you guys. Hopefully they're good. That sucks. Man, that sucks. Anyways, the truck was good. So I had a 4-door, 6-foot bed, double cab Tacoma before. It was a Tier D off-road. And that one drove very good. I really liked the way that that one drove. It felt better than, honestly, my current Tier D Pro. And I don't know what it was with the long bed with that generation of Tacoma, but it felt like a better driving truck for some reason. And this new SR5, it drives good. It would be interesting, though, to see a manual. I don't think, though, SR5 has manuals. I don't, or maybe, yeah, I don't think SR5 comes with a manual, though, to answer your other part of the question. Premium versus upgraded. Not sure a manual. I need to read your whole thing again. Vec, how's it going? So if you guys are just hopping in, I appreciate it. We started a little bit late. I had a phone call that ran a little bit later than I wanted to. But we are talking about Tacoma today. Driving impressions, price, whatever you guys want to know, except for the hybrids. We typically fall about 10 to 15 minutes behind in comments, but I will try to get to all your guys' comments as quickly as possible. So if I don't answer it right away and you leave, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to go through everyone's comments because this is the most people that we've ever had in a live stream. So I truly appreciate it, guys. Blake says, Tier D Pro cost estimates. 60 grand isn't terrible, but stretching it considering it's up there with the Tundra. So I think that, unfortunately, that's pretty spot on. It's gonna be anywhere from like 55 into the 60s. Because if you look at a current Tier D Pro, people look at them and they're like, oh, it's 48,000. No, it's not. Well, it is. But that's if you get the manual transmission. If you opt for a brand new Tier D Pro as an automatic transmission, it's a $52,000 truck, right? So that's already, outdated. I feel like we should take a look at the Limited, see how much standard features come on a Limited. The Limited starts for the 4th generation at $52,000. Let's add $3,000 for the iForce Max powertrain because with Tundra, it's about a $3,000 increase. Now we're at $55,000. You add on the Tier D Pro tax, you add on, the suspension, the bigger tires, some of the other extra features that the Tier D Pro has. I think it's going to be aggressive to be at 55 because that's where the Ranger starts, the Ranger Raptor, but it's going to be close to 55 to 60. I think people need to get ready for that sticker shock of the Pro and the Trail Hunter. Those leaked prices that came out that some people on YouTube and forums covered really set a bad precedence for the Trail Hunter and the Pro pricing. It was so frustrating, but I think if we can guesstimate anywhere from 55 into 60, I think that would be a sweet spot. That way there's like a 10K gap before the Tundra. If it's like mid 60s, that may be a very hard pill to swallow, especially when the Colorado ZR2 is significantly under, right? I know the Bison gets way up there in price, but still, that'd be crazy. Lord, how's it going? How did the engine sound? From what I could hear in other videos and other content creators, it was pretty throaty for a 4-cylinder. Already liking what I see on the SR5. Yeah, great question. So the engine, it's a 4-cylinder, right? It winds out quite a bit compared, actually, honestly, not really, because the 3.5 in the 3rd generation, to really get into the power of the 3rd generation Tacoma, you had to really rev the crap out of that truck. And it's kind of the same here, but so there is some kind of fake engine noise pumped into these trucks, except for the manual transmission. But it doesn't sound like a V6, it doesn't sound like a V8, it's not trying to be something that it isn't. It just has this kind of organic grunt to it, if that makes sense. So it has this just kind of grunty sound to it. There's also active noise cancellation because they said, hey, it is a 4-cylinder, you're gonna have to rev it and stuff. We don't want all that vibration and sound going into the cab. So I could only imagine what that would be like without it, which I believe the manuals have that as well, or don't have that as well because they don't know what RPM range you're gonna be at. But the engine sounds pretty good. Now, the one thing that's super noticeable is if you guys listen to Throttle House. If you guys go watch their video on the Tacoma, their video is taking off. One of the best ones so far for the 4th generation Tacoma, and their videos are just incredible as it is. But they capture the turbo noise perfectly. They capture the turbo noise perfectly in their video. This truck, its spools, I feel louder than the Tundra does. And the Tundra has 2 turbos. This one just has this good just like blow off and everything. It sounds really, really good. It's honestly crazy. So if the low end grunt is good, when it's idling, it sounds like a diesel truck for some reason, just like glok, glok, glok. It's just such a weird powertrain. And I say weird as in like it's something crazy. It's not something crazy, just the way that they went about it is very, very good. And I'll talk about this in my chassis engineering video that I'll post up maybe later this week or next week. I don't want to do too much Tacoma stuff and people get overwhelmed. But even though it's the 2.4 liter inline 4-cylinder turbo, it's not the same. It's not the exact same that's in like the Grand Highlander, the normal Highlander, Lexus products. Only like 53, I believe, or 54% of that engine is the same. The rest of it has been completely restructured, completely redone for a truck application, even down to the turbo itself. It's a completely different turbo for better duty cycling and stuff too. They know that it's gonna go out eventually. Like Toyota literally admitted that to me. They're like, turbos don't last forever. We know that, but we tried to give it more longevity, more cooling and stuff to make the most out of this engine. So I'm very hyped for it. It's pretty nice, and the new transmission's great too. Mike says, did I drive the new manual? I did. I drove it both on-road and off-road, stalled it a couple times, but the IMT for that, the intelligent manual transmission, is great. A bit long of a throw, kind of high clutch release, but it was good. I'm not a manual transmission like vehicle driver, but it was easy to learn and it was pretty nice. Nathan says, yo, John, thanks for what you do. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you all watching. We have the most people we've ever had in here, and I'm about 16 to 18 minutes behind on comments, so I'm going to kind of rapid fire through some of these. Anthony says, is the blue trim on the interior only on lower trims of the TRD Off-Road? So it's only on TRD Sports. So TRD Sports have a blue, white, and a dark gray interior. I know today shall be all heck yeah. What happened to the 27 miles per gallon on the Land Cruiser? So this may tie into Tacoma stuff, which now seeing that the Tacoma SR and SR5 get 26 miles per gallon, that 27 may be close. And I don't know if it'll be combined or what, but I don't think that official numbers is really out yet for the Land Cruiser or also the Tacoma hybrids, but it may be pretty close. And actually when I was at SEMA, Rutledge Wood was there talking about like all of Toyota's vehicles that they had at the SEMA booth. And he also said that the Land Cruiser was going to have a combined 27 miles per gallon at SEMA. So that was kind of strange because Toyota took it off their website, but then Rutledge was talking about all the Toyota products and stuff. And then he said that the Land Cruiser would get that. So that was kind of strange. But yeah, they took it off a while ago. Yusef says, do we know if we're getting ventilated seats as an option on the TRD Off-Road? We are. At least the pre-production ones that were there, they had heated and ventilated seats on the TRD Off-Road, which was pretty sweet. Manual on pre-runner, unfortunately, no extra cab vehicles, so that's just like the two doors, will have a manual transmission, at least as of now. I'm not sure why they don't have it as an option for like super cheap. Maybe they're just, you know, getting as many manuals as they can out with the double cabs and seeing how they sell and if the demand's there, because like same as the pre-runner, right? Like people want that style of a truck, but as a four-wheel drive, kind of like an older TRD Off-Road with the access cab instead of you know, a full double cab. So it's all about product longevity and stuff, or product or model life longevity, I think is the proper term for that. Is like they can't just give everything at once, right? And as crappy as that sounds, because like why would you buy a vehicle from them like 4 years from now? Like let's say you buy a normal pre-runner now, right? But in 4 years they may offer the manual, or 3 years, and you're like, oh, now I need to trade up to that. So it's all about letting the model life just be as long as possible. Emmanuel says, do you think the rollout will be in big bulks? So there's a dude on YouTube, and I'm not sure how accurate the information is, but he seems to be, I think, in Nashville area, and he says as of right now, there's already like 470 trucks allocated throughout the United States, maybe even more by the time of me doing this live stream. But there's like 440 something trucks already allocated for December into January, which is pretty cool. That's a lot. And I mean, it's not a whole lot, but Toyota wants to have these numbers the same as the outgoing Tacoma. So hundreds of thousands of vehicles every single year. I'm not sure if the first year will have that many, but eventually like that's their goal to get to, is as many as the 3rd gen was sold, they're gonna have that for the 4th gen. It's not gonna be like Tundra and Sequoia where these things are hard to get forever, right? Up until now where there's tons of Tundras on the lot like 3 years later. But they're hoping to be at the same numbers as the 3rd gen Tacoma. Waiting on the hybrid model, and that's totally fine. Like the current models that are available right now, the amount of torque that they have at 317 foot-pounds of torque, coming on at only 1,700 RPMs, I can only imagine how great the hybrid's gonna drive, right? Because the hybrid has 465 foot-pounds of torque. In this little truck, like it's a little truck and it has that much torque, which is crazy, and it's battery assisted, so that means a lot of it is super instant. The truck drove so good for having that good bump in horsepower and torque. Well, horsepower is the same, but torque is a bit bumped up. The 8-speed transmission did not guess at all where it wanted to be, like the outgoing 6-speed. You were kind of always in peak torque range, which was nice because you're always cruising at around that 1,500 to 2,000, right? So you're always kind of like right there at peak torque. The truck drove great, but if you're waiting for the hybrid, that's gonna hopefully be an even better driving experience than this normal iForce is. Tony says, hey John, do you expect to see market adjustments on these Tacomas when they come out? Unfortunately, there will be those dealers that do it, right? The dealers may only have 1 or 2 in the month of January, and if someone in a population of 50,000 people wants that one and there's 20,000 people, it's all comes down to supply and demand. So there will be those greedy dealers out there, 100%, unfortunately. But if that person wants the truck, or maybe it's a company and they're gonna make millions and millions and millions of dollars of product, it's beneficial for them to pay $20,000 over MSRP. Like that's outrageous, right? But it is beneficial for certain companies to do that, to be one of the first to have the truck, to have products for it. I get that. But there are also gonna be dealerships out there that don't charge over MSRP. Kyle says, I know today should be all about Tacoma, but will you do more Airbnb content? I will. I'm thinking about doing another page for that stuff. BC says, how much do you think the Trail Hunter will be? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 57, but depending on how much you put on it, I feel like a Trail Hunter could get upwards of like 62 to 63, depending if you go super decked out. Bill says, thanks John for the awesome reviews. I appreciate you guys. We're gonna rapid fire again through some comments because we're about 20 minutes behind now, but I appreciate everyone sending in comments. We will get to them. Plan on being online for about an hour to an hour and a half. I know there's other content creators. I saw everyone seems to be wanting to do a live stream tonight. So I know Tim Estradal and them, they're doing a live stream in about 35 minutes to an hour. The Radies, they're doing stuff too. So like, don't want to, impose or keep people if people want to go to other creators and stuff, but we're going to try to catch up with a lot of stuff. So I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. It's awesome. Hello from Newfoundland. What's up? Will there be a big cab, like a bigger back seat with the 6-foot bed and a manual transmission? Unfortunately, I did not see any 6-foot beds with a manual transmission on that price sheet, and so I don't think that will be a thing, unfortunately, at least for as of right now. Asa says, please can you go over all the additions that were added to the premium package on the TRD off-road? That will be a video tomorrow because I got that information a little bit later about my truck that I have coming, so I will be making that video later for you guys, breaking the packaging down, and then of course we'll break down the configurator whenever that goes live. Corday says it's very interesting to see 2 different rear suspension setups on the SRs and TRD Pros. Yeah, so very cool. Toyota still has a leaf spring setup for the extra cabs, SRs, and then all the other models get a multi-link rear suspension, which is pretty cool, and it helps keep costs down for them. Gio says that the next Tacoma looks great, but the engine sounds terrible and it's loud in the cabin. I also wish they would have made it about 3 inches bigger. Yeah. It would be nice to be like a bigger truck, but it's still a mid-sized truck at the end of the day. Maybe some different cab configuration stuff. Like the first gen Tundra was like the best size cab. It was like the same kind of width as the Tacoma, like a little bit longer of wheelbase, but it was the same width as it, and it was just such a good truck. And the cab was actually big, but it was a big, huge bubble. And the engine, I mean, you can't make a 4-cylinder sound good without making it sound like a Civic, right? Like 4 cylinders just don't sound the best, and that's what the truck has. Did it have auto rev match? So it does with the IMT transmission, which was actually pretty cool. So if you enable IMT, it actually kind of blips a rev match, and I experienced that a little bit because I'm not the best at knowing exactly where that truck was, but the more I drove it, the more like it wasn't, helping me out because I was actually doing it at the proper shift points. But it does have rev matching when you enable the IMT on the transmission. Kyle says, hey John, Canada info sheet says premium paint color for OR is solar octane. Oh, dude, I didn't even think about that. I'm gonna have to pay an extra $400 for solar octane. Supersonic red for the Sport. Any news of supersonic red being available on the off-road or for a premium color? I'm not 100% sure, and I did not see any examples of that out on our little trails that we had. They didn't have that. They definitely had underground and solar octane and bronze oxide, but I didn't see supersonic red. The only supersonic red I saw was on Limited, and I think an SR5. Nord says Toyota is making standard equipment optional on the new generation, therefore the price difference will be higher. So I did mention this a little bit at the beginning of the video or the live stream when someone asked me about what I'll miss on the 3rd gen. So when the 3rd gen came out, a lot of the stuff that was standard was not standard, it was options. But as it got older in its life cycle and things got cheaper, with also inflation at the same time, they started to add a lot of stuff as standard, like automatic seats that the Tacoma didn't even get until like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, right? Dual climate control, which was an option, but now standard across the board. So that will eventually, happen for the Tacoma, but I feel like if they did everything, a new platform, give you all the same standard features, we would have seen a bit of a price jump instead of just the $500 to $2,000 that we saw in certain models. I've seen some manuals have the auto start stop. Yeah, so they have that too. The auto, the clutch, no clutch start. So like if you stall the truck and you press that button, I was never able to get it to work on this media drive. But what's supposed to happen is if you stall the truck and you press that button, you can start the truck up, I believe, in gear with your foot on the brake, or it may have to be in manual mode, or in manual, or yeah, in manual. No, in neutral. It may have to be in neutral, and then you could start the truck without the clutch in. I'm not 100% sure because we weren't able to get that to work, but it's kind of like enabling the clutch for you, which is pretty cool. 52 grand for the Limited. It is expensive, but you get a lot of standard features on Limited. The power running boards, the JBL sound system, the moonroof, a HUD. You get a pretty good amount of stuff on the Limited. Anthony says, how did the crawl control handle compared to the 3rd gen? Great question. Buttery smooth, super quiet. So like the new Tundra, where when I first drove the new Tundra and I pressed the crawl control when we were in San Antonio, Texas, I actually yelled out to the people that were doing the course and I said, hey, this crawl control is not working, it's not on. And they're like, no, it's on. That's just the new crawl control. So it's not like the 4Runner and the current 3rd gen Tacoma where the ABS is like, boop, 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 like pulsating all the time. It's quiet. It works. The whole off-road course that we did, lots of hills, downhill assist stuff. We had a little kind of, I don't know if you would call it a mogul section, but we had a good articulation section like this to where you articulated the truck pretty well, and then you came to a flat spot, you pressed the front stabilizer disconnect, and then you went on the same kind of path again. You could actually feel the front end reaching down a bit more to grab for traction. So that was pretty cool. The crawl control worked great. The downhill assist control, that worked great too. Just setting it at a certain speed, going down a very steep incline. Everything worked very good on the trucks, and it's a very quiet crawl control system. Man, the Trail Hunter is gonna be like, 75 to 80 Canadian, that's crazy. But I'm gonna have to get a second mortgage, that's insane. Will there be a factory lift kit for Tier D off-road? I haven't seen that yet, but at SEMA, they did showcase a Tier D off-road or a Tier D lift kit. We just don't have specific numbers on that yet. Gio says, seriously hoping that the X-Runner would be a double cab with the Tundra engine. That would be crazy. They did have the X-Runner actually at the LA Auto Show, so Toyota is kind of showing that thing off. I'm not sure if it'll make its way out east or anything like that because it was just at SEMA. It's pretty easy to go from Vegas to LA, but it was there, which was pretty cool. Morgan says, yeah, I wish I could, but I have no idea how long it was going to be. Hopefully they left a message and hopefully it's super simple. I hate freaking not being on the phone with them sometimes when they call. Kodiak's Ride says the engine sounds horrible at high throttle. Yeah, I mean, it's a four-banger. Like, it's going to rev out, but even honestly, the current truck doesn't sound the best when you rev out the V6. Like, it's very just whiny as well. I don't think that the four-cylinder, personally for me, if you can watch everyone else's videos and make your own opinion, but personally, I don't feel like the four-cylinder sounds any worse than the outgoing V6. DK Under the Hook says, adding an Alucab style pop-up camper generally is 300 to 400 pounds dry weight. Would that need to be, or what would need to be done, and which 2024 truck could handle this camper? I fish and camp. So I feel like a TRD pre-runner may be good because you have the leaf springs, and you could easily probably add an add-a-leaf kit in the future to like stiffen up the back, or also fit airbags under it. But like, you could do that with even the multi-link rear suspension, like how the Tundra has a multi-link and people are adding airbags to that too. You could potentially just add airbags or stiffer springs too. So you could add aftermarket shocks in the back and just stiffer springs, and hopefully do that pretty well. So I hopefully will be getting some sort of version of a camper shell on my Tacoma when it comes. I'll leave some stuff a surprise for you guys because we actually have quite a bit of people in here right now versus, you know, like the 30 to 40 people that we have on a typical live stream. But I may have to end up putting some stiffer springs or something in the back of my Tacoma too. But it's just like the Tundra rear end. So this is the cool thing about it being on a on the TNGAF platform, is that a lot of stuff that's going to work for Tundra will hopefully work with this Tacoma as well, or just the same thought process of it, right? The Tundra has a softer multi-link rear suspension. You put any sort of weight in there, the Tundra squats a little bit. People are rectifying that with either airbags, or there are Tundras with Alucabs and super heavy campers and stuff on the back of them. They just do stiffer springs, better suspension, and the truck stays nice and level. Any estimate on mileage range? Well, it's about an 18-gallon tank, which is kind of crappy. I believe the current Tacoma is 20 to 21 gallons of a tank, but with this truck getting around 1 to 2 more miles per gallon more, they opted to unfortunately make the tank smaller, which I wish that they kept it the same, if not a little bit bigger, and you could get more range out of the tank. But if we're at about 18.2 and the truck gets, you know, on average, let's just say 20, that'll be, someone do the math for me, somewhere between 360 to 400 miles of a range. Craig, what's up, man? Says, if I want the red exterior on a TRD Sport, can you get a supersonic red dash accent? That would be cool, but only right now 3 dash accents: blue, white, and gray. Wah says, why are you always pointing at cosmetic issue? Oh, this is talking about Tundra. Because it makes issues. It's a $70,000 truck that the windows rattle. That's why, I mean, it's issues. And I'll do the same for the Tacoma as well if it has like very crazy issues as well. I know Chevy and like everyone has their flaws, right? At least, but that's why in that video for the Tundra, and we're gonna get off topic real quick, I mentioned that the powertrain's great. You know, the powertrain's great in the truck. I enjoy it. Like, the rest of the truck is pretty solid. Some cheaper materials that I would like, but I'm gonna point it out because if you watch that video, there's a lot of people that actually have finally now been coming out and saying that their trucks have that issue, or their truck has finally developed the same issue. Like, it wasn't a thing in the past and now it is. So it's why I like to do these videos with new vehicles and stuff. The new Tacoma too, like if it has issues and stuff, I'll show it with you guys and talk with the people that I talk to at Toyota. Say, hey, did you guys notice this in the truck? If it's something like, oh crap, no we didn't, can you like let us know about certain things? I like to do it for R&D stuff, because if someone was thinking about buying a $70,000 Tundra and a lot of people's windows rattle, they may not want to do that, you know, especially if there's no initial fix. Gio says, initial numbers are concerning. Going to stick with my 23 Pro, no problem, until the TRD Pro comes out and see how it fares against the Ranger Raptor. Heck yeah, man. That's good. I mean, why get rid of the 23 right now? It's a solid truck and it should be fine. You bet the aftermarket Tier D Pro grill is coming back. Heck yeah, it is, dude. I bet you there's some companies already on Alibaba or whatever, like looking for it right now to drop ship, right? But the Tier D Pro grill is pretty cool. I mean, it looks great. At least there's no like fake Raptor lights and stuff on it, which is cool. You have the spot for a light bar, which is the best thing ever. Like the current generation of Tacomas and 4Runners, when people put the Tier D Pro grill on it, like it looks good because it's heritage style. But with this new Tacoma, you know, you can actually put an LED light bar in there, which is really cool. It still keeps all the radar stuff because your radar is now under the grill with the new Tacoma. I think that it's going to be a very popular mod, but all the normal grills, honestly, on the Tacoma actually look really, really good. Josh says that we have a 23 Highlander, which has the 2.4 turbo, happy with it, 19 miles per gallon, but only drive like 6 miles a day. Oh, that's not even that much. And then, yep, good highway mileage. So again, like it's the same 2.4 turbo that's in this Tacoma, but it's rebuilt for a truck application. Only 53 to 54%, I think, of the engine is the same, and the rest is beefed up truck parts, bigger cooling lines, different turbo, which is cool. But I mean, the Highlander, it's a heavy vehicle, right? So imagine an even more beefed up version of the engine that you already have in it, and that's basically the Tacoma. Will the back seat fit a convertible car seat behind it easily? I'm not sure what a convertible car seat is, but it will fit a car seat back there. There's plenty of room for that. If the last gen did, then the new gen definitely will. Vehicles are insanely expensive that they are. It's crazy. Just got to make more money, you know. Bobber says, so I'm not sure if the iForce Max is different than regular iForce. If so, if it is, do you think that the Max powertrain will get a little bit better MPGs? This is a good question. I'm going to make a kind of a separate video talking about like my expectations for the iForce Max, but we'll touch on it a little bit when I do the chassis video with Craig, the powertrain engineer. But he stated that with the Tacoma being a lighter truck than the Tundra is, and with the hybrid components basically kind of being the same components, like from the electronic generator is basically the same as the Tundra, but the truck is lighter. The truck is able to hang out in EV mode, electric vehicle mode, longer than the Tundra is. And even at highway speeds, it's able to go down into EV mode more than the Tundra is as well. So with that, I would assume, because if you look at the Tundra, you get about 2 more miles per gallon in the city for the hybrid than you do like the normal one, just like generally looking at their website. So the Tacoma could get maybe 3, could be 4 MPG in the city. Like that truck's average maybe 26. I don't know yet. I don't want to like say that and it be like a lot lower. But just, you know, the hybrids for these trucks, they're more for performance than they are for like Prius hybrid stuff. But the fact that it's able to hang out in EV mode a little bit more than a normal truck is pretty cool. Sorry, just got into the chat real quick. What would you say the Tier D Pro price would be? Probably around 50 to 60, 50 or 55 into 60, Dominic. You guys are talking about something else. Ben says, what are the top 2 things that excite you most about this new Tacoma and top 2 concerns you may have? So I'll start with the concerns. A concern is obviously the reliability of the engine, but it's Toyota, right? And Chief Engineer Sheldon Brown is overly passionate about this vehicle, which I absolutely love, and just knew some of the issues that a 4-cylinder turbo would have in a truck application, and they tried to do everything that they could to make this engine as reliable as possible, just because that's been every generation since. So the only concern would just be the uncertainty of the engine, and obviously for the first batch of trucks, just quality issues, right? Potential quality issues. The Tundra did not set a good example for that, and people are concerned, like with the Tacoma and stuff too, right? So they can only do so much as they have all these test mules with the camo on them and stuff, and all their computers and all this crap on the inside of all these trucks when they're driving them to notice like fit and finish things, right? When they're test driving all these vehicles, they maybe have like, I think 150 to 200 mules. When they make 10,000 trucks, like right out of the gate, like some things, unfortunately, may be missed. So those are my two concerns: reliability, quality issues. The two things that excite me most is the hybrid whenever it comes out, because the 317 foot-pounds of torque of this truck was awesome. I can only imagine how much more it's gonna be. And then also just to see what the aftermarket scene does for these trucks. Toyota already has a whole bunch of accessories. When I was picking stuff out for my Tacoma, if I wanted any port options, there's so many accessories that Toyota does. And then not only that, but other companies are gonna do stuff too. So those are my four. Did it have any fake V6 sound pumped in? So it does not. It does have some artificial sound, but the truck is not trying to be anything that it's not, like the Tundra. Like the Tundra has a pretty dominant V8 noise. This truck just has like a little growl or rumble kind of to it to like offset the whine of a four-cylinder. And it also has active noise canceling too. Sport handling from Gen 3 had super harsh suspension. You drove the SR5, stick shift sports Gen 4 suspension. So the TRD Sport feels more planted in this generation, especially with the electronic power steering. Feels so much better than the hydraulic steering of the third generation Tacoma. It feels more planted, but at the same time, it feels a little bit bouncy. But that may have just been the roads that we were on, because they're just super winding roads and stuff. But the trucks that I was able to drive just on a flat stretch, it felt very nice and comfortable. But the TRD Sport is really tuned for kind of quicker driving, to where I'm not sure if I would really want that as like a road trip vehicle. I'm sure that it would still be comfortable if it's like super long highways, but it wasn't harsh. It was definitely a bit more road connection, I should say, when compared to like a normal SR5 or the TRD Off-Road, which was a bit more kind of floaty with the Bilstein suspension. Any lag with the turbos? So minimal, very minimal lag, but like, to be honest with you guys, if you don't have a throttle enhancer on your third gen Tacoma, or if you know anything about a third gen Tacoma, if you drove it, if you don't have a throttle enhancer on that vehicle, you know kind of how the throttle lag is. It's no different on this truck for being a turbo. Like sometimes, you know, if you're at like 70 miles an hour with this truck and you floor it because you want to go a little bit faster, there is like a tiny delay of like the computer and everything trying to figure out what to do, where to put the transmission, what gear, where's the turbo going to spool up to. They're like minimal like delay, but it's no different than if you're going 70 miles an hour with a third gen Tacoma and you mash the throttle and the truck's like, where the heck do I want to be? So to answer the question, like there is turbo lag, but like there's not a difference as to like how much worse turbo lag is than like the normal Tacoma that we have right now. Oh, I see it. Matt says the blow-off valve sounds nice in that video. So I'm talking about Throttle House's video. Yeah, they captured it really well. The turbo noise on this truck is very, very good. I can only imagine, you know, if people put like a little aftermarket intake, or maybe take out some sound deadening, or put like a high flow filter in it, how much more we'll hear the turbos on it. But it's kind of cool to just, you know, hear. I mean, if you're getting rid of the V6, or even when the Tundras came out, if you're getting rid of the V8 and you're replacing it with turbos, like, we like to hear it. I mean, it's there, and I kind of want to hear it. How big is the lift on the Pro and Trailhunter? I believe they are about 1.5 inches more of lift. Gampy says, hey John, probably already asked, and it's all good if it is. Some people are coming in and coming out of this, and we're about 25 minutes behind in messages, which this is the most people we've ever had in the chat, so I appreciate you guys for showing up on a Tuesday and going through the Tacoma stuff. But any noise and rattles coming from the doors on the Tacoma that you notice? Definitely not, and I am a stickler for that, because you guys know my Tundra has some issues right now, but it was solid. It was pretty solid, and these are pre-production trucks, so even certain things that I did hear, I kind of just wrote them off in my head as to potentially being pre-production. But I'll just say this, Toyota Jeff drove the truck a little bit fast, okay? And I looked over to see how fast he was going, and I was very surprised that it did not sound like I was in a hurricane. Because if I was driving my Tundra that fast, it would be very loud with wind noise. The Tacomas, certain ones, I'm not sure exactly what specs, but some of them had acoustic glass on them. There were some TRD off-roads that had acoustic glass too. Not sure if that's part of the premium package, but very, like, no rattles at all. I also had a bunch of camera gear inside the trucks when I was driving too, so I'm not sure like if it was some of my camera gear moving around too, but really no rattles. The only truck that I heard a little bit of rattles coming from was the TRD pre-runner, because it has like that whole pegboard thing going on in the back and stuff, and maybe just some stuff wasn't locked up properly. But that truck, I heard like some plastic stuff like just bouncing around back there. But very, very minimal wind noise on this truck, especially at 70, 75 miles an hour. It was a bit quieter, a lot quieter, I should say, than the Tundra was. But no like significant rattles coming from anywhere, at least on those pre-production trucks. Marie says, how does the truck feel when you accelerate? Does it feel more powerful than the previous gen? Loads more powerful than the previous gen. It's honestly crazy how this little 4-cylinder engine moves this truck. And I'm excited for the hybrids to see how that is. But the low end torque comes on at 1700 RPM. When you just floor the truck, it just goes. The gears shift perfectly. It always wants to hang out at peak torque RPM range. So when you accelerate with this truck, it's really good. It's not guessing and hunting all over the place. Like Toyota, I feel, intentionally put us in these canyons, going up and down hills, because they realized that the last truck would not favor out there going up and down those hills. So I feel like they intentionally put us out there to see how great the truck drove. I'm very excited to like take the truck on road trips and go like more flat driving with it instead of just going up and down canyons and off-roading. But for the most part, the drive event was great, and I did not like need more out of the engine. Granted, they were stock trucks. If you throw 35s on them and crap in the back and you start adding weight to the trucks, we'll see how the 4-cylinder acts then. But for a completely stock truck, like, it has power, and I can only imagine how much better the hybrid is going to be for that truck. It's going to be wild. Gio says, with limited at 52, is it safe to think that the pros will be 55 to 60? 100%. Dean says, is the Toyota going to be releasing a compact pickup? That would be sweet. That would be very, very cool. They need to do that. No rumors about that during this drive event and the LA Auto Show, but like they need to. The Maverick is crushing it. It would be really cool to have some sort of mini truck like that. Mike, you're welcome for the coverage, man. I know I'm behind, and hopefully you're still in here. Fizz says, what would you recommend? Would you recommend waiting for a 2025 to work out some issues? You totally can. If you have a current third gen and you don't want to get into the new one just because of some potential issues, definitely wait. Like, there's nothing wrong with keeping your third gen right now, right? Except for if you want to be in the newest of new. I'm going to get one right away. If there are issues, I'll showcase it with you guys, and hopefully they fix some of the things, right? But if we've learned from Tundra, and it's a completely different team, there are some issues with Tundra that were there on model year 2022 that are still there on model year 2024. So not everything will be fixed right away, and any important stuff, right, there will be a recall on it. So like, I don't see, honestly, the need to wait like a whole year, because if it needs to be fixed, like, there'll be a recall or a TSB for it. Or if your truck unfortunately fails at something, there'll be warranty too. So it depends on just if you want to wait. Arturo says, how's the infotainment system? Does every trim get a 14-inch screen? If not, what trim? So it's an option to upgrade it into a 14-inch screen. The only one that gets it standard is the Limited, but it's just like the Tundra screen. It's just massive. It's great. It's responsive. I personally have never had an issue with this new infotainment screen that Toyota has. There are some journalists that have had issues with the screen. They hate it. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. I personally never had issues. The only issue that I've had with my Tundra is sometimes like the microphone thinks that I'm trying to talk to it, and you can't control the screen or anything. Like, even on my gauge cluster, you can't control anything. So I have to like reset the whole radio, and then it stops like registering my microphone. Other than that, my CarPlay has always worked on mine. The CarPlay worked on these Tacomas. The wireless charger is way better on these Tacomas. Like, the way it sits in the center console there's like this little rubber pad. So like you put your phone into it, it catches and it holds it. It's not like flopping around all over the place like the Tundra, like where you put it in on the Tundra, you take like hit one bump, it like bounces off because you have a phone case. And the way that, you know, Apple and Google and all these people make their cameras, like they're thick, they have a camera bump, so the phone never lays properly flat. So the Tacoma is really good with the wireless charger too. No problem, Mike. Corey Deddy says, how did you find the footwell area? My 2019 was tight on the driver's side. So the footwell area was great. The way that they raised up the seat in this Tacoma, it's not like your legs are like flat into the driving position. So, I mean, you just got a new Tundra. It's literally like if you close your eyes and someone opens the door for you and you reach and you sit down and then you open your eyes and you see the same steering wheel and you don't look at the rest of the truck, like it would literally feel like you're sitting in a full-size truck and like you're sitting in the Tundra. A tickle. Land Cruiser already has a turbo 4, so I'm hoping the new 4Runner gets a 6. That will not happen. If the Tacoma has a 4-cylinder, this Land Cruiser has a 4-cylinder, 4Runner, most likely same powertrain. And if that's the case, if the 4Runner has the same powertrain, like yeah, it sucks that you're leaving a naturally aspirated V6. The reliability of the 4Runner is questionable because it's been that same powertrain since 2003, 2, something like that. But at least this powertrain on the new Tacoma, if it's in the new 4Runner, it gets up and goes, and it is a pleasure to drive. It's really nice. I mean, maybe eventually, but it doesn't for now, if that was the question, Matt, unless you're talking to someone else. We are worried about Toyota reliability. People are worried about that all the time when a new engine comes out. It just has to prove itself, right? Like, when the 3rd generation Tacoma came out, they were like, oh, Atkinson cycle engine, it's horrible. They should have stayed with the 4.0. Now that this new truck came out, like, oh, they should have stayed with the 3.5. So it just has to prove itself. Question, what is the extra cab size in your video of price and cab sizes? The extra cab, I think it literally says extra cab in those prices. But it's going to be SR, SR5, and the pre-runner are the 2 that have extra cab options. Asa says, how did the heated and ventilated seats feel? Any hard seams? They felt like just normal seats. Granted, they were soft tech seats compared to like cloth seats, but I didn't have any issues feeling different in them. You say that your limited Tundra makes my driving foot go numb. Oh yeah, so weird. Because I've sat in a limited Tundra when I just went to Destination Outdoor, and those seats were very uncomfortable. I'm not sure why, but those seats were not the best. Like my SR5 had way better seats than the Tundra, and also my Platinum has like leather seats, and they're not the soft tech seats, and they felt better than the Tundra. I even kind of don't like the Tundra TRD Pro seats either. They're not that comfortable. I'm not sure if that's the ventilated portion in it, making it feel a little bit stiff, but I don't recall the Tacoma feeling stiff at all. They just felt like normal seats. Like maybe it was just I was hyped to be driving the truck and trying to feel out different stuff, but that seat uncomfort did not cross my mind at all. Dean says, is Toyota, I already kind of answered that one. There will continue to be market adjustments, catching up. 30 minutes behind. Holy smokes, guys. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to everything tonight. May have to skip some stuff. Looking for towing impressions. That would be nice because unfortunately there wasn't really any towing there. They didn't have any trailers or anything like that for us to do like they did for the Tundra. But if I'm able to get a trailer back behind my Tacoma when I get it, I sure will. I know TFL, they'll definitely do their Ike Gauntlet and stuff with the truck. So definitely try to do that. Talking about stuff. John, did Toyota let you know when the configurator would be live? Not sure yet, but hopefully I will soon. I'll make a video for you guys. I went to our manufacturer starting to do sales, days. So if you guys are hanging out for a while, that's totally fine. We're going to catch up on some comments, talking basically about Tacoma stuff tonight. I know there's other creators on right now, so if you guys feel like you got the gist of it from me, you guys can go and see other creators with their impressions of the Tacoma or whatever else they got going on. Robert says, came in late, but what do you think the price of the Pro Tacoma will be? 55 to 60 is what I'm saying for that. Kev says, how's the turning radius? It was good. Yeah, dang, that's a good question. I don't know why I didn't test that in a parking lot. Oh, dude, I failed. Off-road, I'll say this because I did notice it while off-road. Off-road, even in 4 low, I felt like the truck was still able to turn relatively well. On the off-road course, it had like some sharp kind of turns to it. And the truck, even, being in 4 low and 4 high, was able to turn pretty well. And I think with the electronic power steering, that really helped. But definitely better than the Tundra TRD Pro, because that turning radius of that truck is absolute garbage. But I don't recall like needing, well, there was one portion of the trail that literally like you went like this down it and then it kind of went down this way, and you can't turn like that. So you had to go like this, back up once, and then down it, kind of like little Austin Powers move. But I don't recall the turning radius being horrible at all. It was actually pretty good. I'm going to skip a couple of your guys' questions just because they look about the same that we've answered. And once we catch up, if I don't answer your question, then you can ask it again. George says, aloha, John. Will there be a manual with a 6-foot bed double cab? It's not looking that way right now. If the demand is there, Toyota may do that. Is the pre-runner only an extra cab? It is only an extra cab, and no TRD off-roads as an extra cab. You can only get the TRD off-road one way, well, 2 ways, with the 6-foot bed, but it's only going to be a double cab and only as 4-wheel drive, unlike the last generation, which had different cab configs and all that stuff. Not sure about colors yet. We're going to wait until the config comes out to where we'll see that stuff. Anthony says, in other channels like the Straight Pipes and Truck Kings, they both reviewed TRD off-roads. Yeah, so I noticed this. The Canadians always have different types of vehicles. So where we have those colors on the TRD Sport, the Canadians may just have it on TRD models. I don't know, because I did notice that in the Straight Pipes video. I was like, oh, that's a unique looking TRD Sport. And then they said it was a TRD off-road, but it had a blue interior. I'm like, well, they are in Canada, and Canadians definitely get some different packaging. I don't know why it's not all the same and it's just not cohesive, but it is what it is. The Crude says, what do you think is a good ballpark estimates for hybrids? I think that hybrids are going to be maybe $3,000 more than the current trucks, because the Tundras are about $3,000 more. The Tacomas may be a little bit cheaper for the hybrid just because the technology's been out a little bit longer than the Tundra, and also maybe less batteries for the Tacoma, but we'll see. Dean says, I hope that they didn't put a hybrid-only option on a compact pickup. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Auto Jeff is here. What's up, Jeff? How's it going? Appreciate it. The Hot Wheels collection. Looking for my 4Runner, my 2018 Cavalry Blue 4Runner for my Hot Wheels collection. I think that it just came out in the series and haven't found it yet. Are there any Trail Hunter accessories available for the TRD OR? So you have the moonroof, or I'm sorry, you have the roof rack. There's the bed rack option, the rock sliders, like pretty much all the stuff you guys see on the Trail Hunter. You can get a lot of those parts on any Tacoma, really. Even the ARB little recovery points as well that were on the back of the Trail Hunter. I also saw that on the option site as well. How's it going? How's it going? I'm thinking about getting a Ram 1500, bro. We are talking Tacoma in this live stream, but those new Ram 1500s, they look pretty cool. The Hurricane engine, I mean, that thing is a freaking powerhouse. That is absolutely crazy. I wish that they had Rams at the LA Auto Show, but they didn't. I really wanted to check out the new Ram, but they didn't have it there. Justin says, if you don't like a turbo in your truck, then would it be better to get a 3rd gen Tacoma? Yeah, I mean, if you don't want the turbos, then your only option is a used vehicle, really, or the Nissan Frontier, right? Because the Colorado, turbo. GMC, turbo. Ranger, turbo. So the only option is a Nissan Frontier, or you could buy my TRD Pro 3rd generation Tacoma from me, and I'll sell it to you, and that has no turbo in it at all. Not sure about colors yet. We'll do colors and configs and all that stuff when it comes out. Kodiak's Ride says, as a 2020 TRD off-road owner, I just can't get over the noise of a 4-cylinder turbo engine. With only 50K miles on mine, I hope it goes 300. No turb ski for me. All good, and yours will definitely last 300,000 miles. Yeah, so those are all the colors, but I'm not sure if we're gonna have different color options for certain ones. But thanks for that. Yes, those are all the colors. I just reserved my allocation at my dealer. TRD off-road, four-wheel drive long bed. You're gonna really, really like it, Luis. It's gonna be awesome. And I feel like the long bed for this generation kind of flows a little bit better with the truck too, versus the outgoing generation where it's kind of like just squared off cab and then the bed, but like the only part that flows is like the bottom of the door panels. It looked good on the last gen. It definitely looked like a more proper truck. But this one, just the way that the bed kind of goes down and then, or the cab goes down and curves up and then the bed flows too, it looks nice, and it's a deeper bed as well than the outgoing generation too. So just a very functional bed for this one for sure. Do we know? Nope, not yet, Tanner. Sorry if I'm clicking on your guys' stuff. Toyota Jeff says, you should do more live stream videos. Everybody loves behind the scenes Q&A stuff. It's gold, Jerry, gold. Thanks, Jeff. Not sure if you're still in here because that was 30 minutes ago. Gio's talking about stuff. Hey, John, 60K Tacoma is just nuts. Yeah, it's crazy. But they do, you know, they do start cheaper. But yeah, it is crazy to have mid-sized trucks that price. But, you know, back in the day, you know, when I was doing out my TRD Pro or my TRD pre-runner, I texted my brother. I was like, holy crap, dude, like this Tacoma is going to be close to like $50,000, which is crazy for a Tacoma. And he sent me, he still has it when my dad bought the truck, but he sent the window sticker of a 2005 Chevy Duramax that he still has, LLY, not LBZ, but it's a 2005, and that truck fully loaded, LT, Crew Max or Crew Cab, whatever they called it, four-wheel drive, 8-foot bed, $48,000. But that was 2005. Stuff has obviously gotten more expensive, but it's just crazy that Tacomas are what diesel trucks prices were fully decked out 5 years ago. Braden says, anything posted with gross vehicle weight? Wondering, I'm not sure. Well, I do have it in the breakdown sheet that I was going to do with the config, but I don't think that they're heavy enough. That stuff may be out on other things too, but I'll try to get that out in a video for people wondering. But it's all going to be based off of also, you know, what things you get on it as well. Christian says, what do you think of it compared to the outgoing model? I'm currently selling my 3rd gen, and I'm very, very excited for this one. The seat position of this truck was just so much better. The rear seat space is a bit bigger than the outgoing gen, but it's nothing to write home about. The drivability of this truck was just so good. It drove so good, and this isn't even the hybrid. The automatic transmission did not shift all over the place. The multi-terrain select was super quiet, buttery smooth. The front sway bar disconnect was pretty cool in the front to gain traction on the bottom. It was very solid. Minimal wind noise when Toyota Jeff was driving the vehicle relatively quick on the freeway to make sure we got to our exit. Very minimal wind noise at like 70 to 80 miles an hour. And the truck gets up and goes. Like the truck really gets up and goes for even being a 4-cylinder. If people were just able to like close their eyes and their ears, well, not close your eyes because you're driving, right? But just be unaware to the specs of a vehicle and they just drive it, and the notion in their head isn't like, oh, it's a 4-cylinder. Like people would realize how much better I feel this truck is driving than the outgoing generation. Not that the outgoing generation was horrible at all, but this one just drives so good. And how is the acceleration? To answer TRD's question, Solo Taco, it's very, very good. The acceleration is great. The 8-speed transmission just works in sequence with it as well. It is very good. Josh, I appreciate you, man. I try to be honest as much as possible. Like, why lie, right? If I lied and told you guys it was the best thing ever, like since freaking sliced bread, and then half of you go out and buy the truck and you're like, yo, this thing's a piece of crap, I would have no following, no credibility, no nothing, right? So got to be honest all the time with you guys. Hamza says, hey, I have a capstone, was trying to get the wheels on them, stock height, can I put 35s on it? You should be able to. It will be close with it. You may rub just a little bit on your upper control arm with that truck because they are big wheels. Do you feel confident in the TRD Pro reliability? I don't know. Like if it was just all based on how Toyota presented themselves with the event and the way the engineers talked about the powertrain and the preventative measures that they went with to try to make sure that this engine and everything is just as reliable as the outgoing 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder, and the extra cooling that they had to do to make sure that the turbo lasts as long as possible. I feel confident about it. The only caveat is like how long will the batteries last, but that's why Toyota uses older style batteries, because they're older, they're more reliable, they're cheaper to replace. So, I mean, I feel like the reliability it'll be good. I mean, obviously time has to tell. We have to wait for people to get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles on these trucks, right? Multiple owners with a vehicle for, deep owner reliability and stuff with the same truck. So it's hard to tell right now, but I'm hyped on what I see in the moment. Dean says, which compact truck is going to be releasing? Is it the Toyota Stout, Toyota Corolla pickup? Not sure yet, but hopefully it's based on the RAV4. People have been saying that whatever may be coming from Toyota will be based on the Corolla. I really hope it's a little bit bigger and it's based on the RAV4. Chris says, hey John, why is the MPG worse than a full-size truck F-150 XL that gets 25 on the highway and 29 local? Why is a mid-size truck MPG worse? So I think the Ford F-150 XL still sells as a single cab short bed, and that's probably where they're doing the numbers on that. Just how I actually deleted all this from the video, and I wish I kept it because I've got this answer a lot, but some people don't watch videos anyways, and they still comment things. But a lot of manufacturers, they go based on like for payload, right? The payload of an F-150 is 3,000 pounds, but it has to be this certain configuration with not these options and stuff. And everyone and their mother thinks that their truck is a 3,000 pound payload, right? So that may be based on a single cab F-150, light as heck, all aluminum, a certain engine, and it gets 25 miles per gallon, right? So I don't know. Ford has their way of doing things. Toyota has their way of doing things. But going down to a 4-cylinder engine, unfortunately, it was not to achieve gas mileage. It was to adhere to all these emission standards that we have in place here in the United States. So the fact that it got better and more power and a smaller displacement engine, I mean, would I have liked more? Yeah, of course. I want the truck to get 30 miles a gallon. But like, I don't know all the engineering and all the feet that goes into a truck getting that. But all I can say for the Ford F-150, if it gets that, that's awesome, but that may be a certain cab configuration, a certain engine configuration, 2-wheel drive model. That may be that. But if you want to say that, right, the SR gets 26 miles per gallon. So it gets more. I mean, it just depends on the truck that you're looking at and what you're doing, I wonder what doing a gas truck with 23 MPG is going to be like in 10 years. Yeah. That'd be crazy. Can't wait for the hybrid tacos. Yeah, hopefully April timeframe we're going to be able to do those, maybe a little bit sooner, but we'll see for that, for TRD Pro pricing and also Trail Hunter pricing. Toyota needs to be releasing this compact truck though eventually. I agree. I mean, if all the hype for the Tacoma's there and a Trail Hunt or a smaller truck would be just as good, if not even more hype. I mean, look at the Ford Maverick compared to the Ranger. Granted, the Ranger that we get here in the United States is always the leftovers that everyone else gets globally, but like the Maverick crushes the Ranger, just like demolishes it out of the water. Yeah, so I mean, this is perfect, and this isn't, throwing any shade at Jacob, but like, people just have to get this out of their head. Like, yes, you're paying more for a new truck with a smaller engine. It has a smaller engine, but it drives better. It's more fuel efficient than the outgoing engine, at least, in its stock form. It may get worse gas mileage, like when you add weight to it with the turbos always spooling up. But like, you get more standard features, better ride quality, a better powered truck, and it costs more money. Like, it's a better truck, but it has a 4-cylinder engine. Like, if people, like I said, they just drive the truck and just forget about everything else, like it drives so much better than a 6-cylinder. But we're gonna skip some questions. Yeah, I thought that Armada was the Forerunner too. I need to make an update video to that because I took that video down real quick. David, actually from Automotive Press, he messaged me and he says, hey John, very good thorough video and good like detective work, but that's a Nissan Armada. I was like, really? Because like everything that the guy sent me, it sounded like it was a Forerunner, and then sure as shit, I'd type in Nissan Armada spy photos, and it looks the exact same. So that was on me. But yeah, I am still excited for a new 4Runner whenever it's able to come out. But I have a good video idea that I can make based off of that I just need to do after all this Tacoma stuff. Hey John, can I get away with towing 2,500 pounds on a regular base? Oh yeah, 100%. I think that the Tacoma is able, I'm not sure about the SR tow capacity, but it may be around 5,000 pounds. I think that you'd be more than comfortable towing 2,500 pounds with that. What type of vehicle do I have? So if you guys are new to this live stream and all this Tacoma stuff, I have a few Toyotas. I have a 2022 Tacoma TRD Pro that I am selling right now, actively selling. If you guys want it, email me, BLUETRDJON, blueTRDJohn@gmail.com. If you're interested in an electric line metallic Toyota Tacoma, I have that. I have a 2018 4Runner TRD Pro in Cavalry Blue, and I have a 2023 Tundra Platinum Crew Max 6-foot bed or 6.5-foot bed, and I eventually will be getting a new Tacoma. And also, I need to talk to my wife about this. We'll see, because we're kind of going back and forth. But there may be another vehicle coming to the channel before the Tacoma. We'll see about that. Luis says, hey John, dealer has 3 allocations. My allocation is a TRD off-road 4-wheel drive long bed, and the other 2 is an SR double cab and an SR5 double cab. So I was told that in December they're gonna make like a couple SRs and SR5s and stuff to, like, you know, make sure that it's a 2024 model year truck. So like these trucks are gonna start to be made in December, most likely some SRs and SR5s, and then we're gonna be getting a lot of TRD off-roads, a lot of TRD sports in January and stuff. But what I did notice on the allocation sheet that the dealership sent me as well is that all the extra cab trucks are actually going to be around March timeframe. So all the trucks coming out in December, January, February, they're all going to be double cabs. So if you want an extra cab, even the pre-runner, it looks like it's going to be March timeframe when those trucks are starting to get built, which they did not tell us, or maybe I missed that information, unfortunately, at the drive event. But it's only double cabs right now up until March. And then around March-ish, they're going to have the extra cabs. And then March-ish into April, they're going to start doing the hybrids as well. So a bit of a staggered launch, unfortunately, but they did the same thing with the Tundra. And then hopefully for the next model year, everything like with the transition of the factory from, you know, 3rd gens to 4th gens, and then also the hybrids, you know, everything will just be good to go. And then once 2025 comes for the Tacomas, everything should come out on time, like they do for every model year. Danny says, have you heard if the premium TRD off-road will have a vintage grill, so like a heritage style grill lift kit package like the previous gen had? Maybe eventually, like for product longevity. That's how you say that word, longevity. But as of right now, no like trail edition or anything like that. I think that's what you're talking about, Danny. Do you know if the hybrids are slow and no fun to drive? No. The non-hybrids are great to drive, and the hybrids are, I'm sure, going to be even crazier to drive with all that torque. Dean says, howdy John, great coverage so far. Would you say that the TRD Pro is going to be worth the estimated price, or is it better to go with the TRD Off-Road? I will go TRD off-road every single day unless you want a truck for resale value, okay? Now, granted, the Tacoma has one of the highest resale values of a truck or like vehicle ever. Like it is, I believe, the top 5 resale vehicles like in the United States. So, but a TRD Pro, it holds its value like absolute gold. It's crazy. So like my TRD off-road or my TRD Pro that I'm trying to sell, it has 15,000 miles on it. There are trucks that are 2 years old, just like mine, that I am seeing for around the price that that truck was brand new 2 years ago. So TRD Pros, they hold their value. If you think that you want to sell your truck eventually, I would consider a TRD off-road or a TRD Pro. But if you're planning on, you know, keeping the truck and building it and putting thousands and thousands and thousands of miles on it all day, go with a TRD off-road because you're going to get all the same features in it. And this TRD off-road of this generation for the 4th gen is the same, if not better, than the outgoing TRD Pro. And the reason for that is you still have the Bilstein suspension, whereas the TRD Pro does have Fox suspension, but you also have on this generation piggyback reservoirs, which you did not have in the last TRD off-road. You have a new generation of crawl control. You have electronic front sway bar disconnect. It's such a better truck off-road than the outgoing TRD Pro, but this new TRD Pro is just wild. So that's, something, if you're not going to build the truck up with your own, suspension and bigger tires and all this stuff, and you just want a truck right out of the box, then TRD Pro. But if you want the truck to just, be great stock and then eventually built up into something, then TRD Off-Road all day. Arturo says, how is the infotainment screen for the 14-inch? So the other trims get an 8-inch. The 14-inch screen is an option, but it's really, really solid. Just like the Tundra stuff, it's pretty nice. Toyota's Jeff says, are you more excited for a 24 Tacoma or the rumored next-gen 4Runner? Right now, the Tacoma, because it's actually there. We've seen it, driven it, have one on order. But I mean, I obviously am overly excited for the 4Runner whenever it comes. So that's what started the channel. That's what I'm passionate about. Every single time I don't have my 4Runner, I miss the 4Runner. Every time I drive the 4Runner, I just love it. It's the dogmobile rolling down the back window. We riot if the new one does not have a roll down rear window. But I love the 4Runner. The 4Runner platform is my favorite platform. It's the best vehicle ever. But currently, I am more excited for the Tacoma than I am the 4Runner, just because it's here. We know everything about it. We know the truck. I'm more excited about the Tacoma right now. Rockin says, did it hold up pretty well when you guys were out there? Reliability worries me. It's Toyota. So it's hard to, only drove the truck for 8 hours. But everyone was bashing on it. People were off-roading it, flooring it, slamming on the brakes, doing all this stuff with the trucks. I don't think one broke down. So it's hard, they had us content creators out there for 4 days. I was only 1 day of it, and other people are staggered throughout the time. But I don't remember anyone from the very last waves talking at the LA Auto Show like, hey, a truck broke down. So they, lasted all of our thrashing and stuff out there, all of our off-roading. Toyota tests these things in Arizona and Texas and colder climates up north in Detroit, and they test parts of the truck in Japan, and they test these trucks all over. They put hundreds of thousands of miles on engines. They stall the trucks sideways like this in Arizona while they're off-roading, allowing no air to come through to cool the turbos for thousands of hours and stuff. So, I mean, they put their R&D into these trucks. They don't just say hey, we need a 4th gen Tacoma. Yeah, throw that engine in it. Cool, make it look like that. Cool, send it. They don't do that. So it's Toyota. We have to have faith in it. It's a completely new platform for the Tacoma. We get that, but hopefully it fills the shoes of its last generations. Ben says, my Tacoma simply doesn't charge with the wireless. Yeah, no, it's a lot better for sure, the wireless charger. Dean says, how are you liking the new Tacoma versus its other mid-sized competition? So I actually did a cool video about that on my YouTube when I was at the LA Auto Show, showing different brands. And the only one that surprised me that I liked certain aspects of it was the Colorado. Granted, the LA Auto Show didn't have a lot of other vehicles there, but was the Colorado. I liked some of the trick stuff it had in the tailgate with that little storage thing that opened up. The rear seat room of the Ranger was the best. That had so much room in the back seat of the Ranger Raptor, but the materials felt super cheap. I'm not sure if that was a pre-production model, but the materials just felt like garbage. But the Colorado actually had AC vents in the center console, which was nice, which none of the other trucks had. So there's aspects of every truck that I like design-wise. The Tacoma, I like the interior and the exterior way better than all those other trucks. But there were certain things with other trucks that I really like. Hollow says, hey John, if Toyota offers a 5-foot bed and a 6-foot bed for someone that takes a 5-foot bed, why can't the extra foot come to the back seat? That would be crazy. I think it's just for simplicity of just having a cab. It's easier to have a 6-foot bed and a 5-foot bed because they could put that 6-foot bed on an extra cab configuration or a double cab. But now if you start throwing a third cab into the mix, right, you have the extra cab, you have the double cab, you have like a mega cab. It's just for simplicity going down the assembly line. Jake says, wait for a hybrid or nah. That's hard because the hybrid's going to be good with a bunch of torque and stuff, but like the current or the one that's coming out first, the normal I-Force just drives so good. And I'm curious if it's going to be like the Tundra, because like for me, I would rather have a I-Force Tundra than an I-Force Max for some reason. Like the I-Force Max, it has power, don't get me wrong, but you lose so much storage under the seat with the Tundra. You don't have like all the inside bed storage that you do with the Tacoma. Like at least for the Tacoma, you can option it with in-bed storage as well. So like if you have your straps or like a tow hitch or something like that, you can put it in the bed of the Tacoma where you can't with the Tundra. But the Tundra for me, like the normal 3.4 I-Force is like so good and so powerful. Like I really don't care to have a hybrid for the Tundra. Whereas on the Tacoma, like the normal I-Force is really good, but I can only imagine like how much like faster and funner the truck will be than the normal one with like all that torque. And it's different because like it's a smaller fun form factor than like a full-size truck. So I feel like if you want to wait, you can, especially if the pricing is not going to be crazy different, because the pricing may be like $3,000-$4,000 different, not $4,000, $2,000-$3,000 different, but the MPG may be a little bit better. And since we haven't done this in a while, my guesstimate for pricing for the Trail Hunter will be around $60. I think you have the nail right on the head right there, Alex. Gonna skip a couple questions again, guys, to start to catch up, and then we'll wrap up soon. But Dragon says the two seat belt buckle in the rear seat kept the falling under seat on the third row, third gen double cab. Wonder if it made changes. Yeah. It's crazy, like older vehicles too, how they had like those suicide seats, like the seats that just came down. That was wild. DIY Tacoma says, I heard that the shipping costs will be higher, so that makes costs go up as well. What's the average higher cost for the new Tacoma? So I think on average, the truck went up like $1,500 to $2,000 in certain models. But like when I did that breakdown video, if like you equip the trucks very close to the same, like even the TRD off-road, it starts at 36, but when you click on a TRD off-road, at least in my region, I'm not sure if it's because a access cab TRD off-road is not available in my region, but it goes immediately from 36 to 38. And then if you add four-wheel drive, it goes to like 40 or 41. So that's why I made in my video, like really a TRD off-road is like $1,000 to $2,000 difference. But like if you look at the initial TRD off-road on Toyota's site, starts at 36. The new one starts at like 41 and a half or 42. So that's a big difference. But like if you equip the truck to be the same truck that it is now, yes, it sucks that Toyota's like forcing you to be at that price and not having options. I get that argument. But if you go like literally truck for truck as to what they have, you know, minus like features like dual climate control and stuff, it's pretty dang close. Asa, I appreciate you. If you headed out, appreciate it. I'm going to skip a couple questions. I appreciate everyone's comments. If I don't get to you guys, just realize like this was the most wild live stream we've ever had. We had 200 plus people in here, which doesn't sound like a lot, but usually we rock it with like 20 to 30 people all the time. And the fact that we have 200 in here is kind of crazy. So I appreciate everyone that's commented. I see them, but I have to skip because we're like 30 minutes behind and we're going to fall on Connor here. Limited is 52. What features would be a plus or minus that would affect the cost for TRD Pro, with it being like a four-wheel drive auto, power running boards, variable suspension, power tailgate, and all that stuff? Yeah, so Limited has all that. The power tailgate, the running boards, the ABS suspension, the moonroof, the standard JBL sound system, standard 14-inch screen, a HUD, all that stuff as well. So like that really jacks up the price. Whereas like a current Limited, when you spec it out at $45,000, it's basically like a glorified SR5. Like it's nothing crazy at all for a current Limited. So like they are throwing a lot of standard features at a Limited. And someone even made the comment too as to like, hey, a limited Tacoma costs almost more, if not a little bit more than a standard limited Tundra, which is totally true. Again, if you look at a limited Tacoma, you get all these features standard, and it's double cab and four-wheel drive. A limited Tundra starts at a double cab, but for the Tundra, that's the smaller cab, right? Because their big one's called the Crew Max. It starts at a double cab, two-wheel drive, no moonroof, no JBL sound system, like not that much stuff in a limited Tundra. So you get a whole lot more features on the limited Tacoma. But again, it goes back to that thing of if you want it, you're forced at that price range instead of starting at a price range and building up a limited to where you're comfortable in price. Yoda Lizard, that's a sick name, dude, says, did you notice that what's the question here? Did you notice the longer wheelbase while driving? Oh, because the track width is a bit better? Or not track width, but the actual longer wheelbase. I honestly didn't. It just felt really comfortable to drive. Like the electronic power steering moved the truck around really good, even with the double cab long bed SR5 that I drove. Like it drove surprisingly well. And I noticed the longer wheelbase maybe allowing it not to like roll a whole lot, or maybe that was just a little bit stiffer of a chassis since it's like a solid frame versus like a C-channel frame that has, naturally a little bit more flex to it. Off-road, it felt a little bit better because I felt like the wheels were planted a little bit more versus like always coming up and always going down, or like not wanting the high center a little bit. Like it felt like a very good ratio, but nothing that I noticed being strange with it having a little bit longer of a wheelbase, or nothing that really stood out either. Mark says there's more technology in a Turbo 4 than an NAV6. That counts for some of the cost increase. I mean, 100%. That R&D that went into it, paying all the engineers, everything, right? Paying road test times and just so much stuff on R&D that goes into these trucks. Like, yes, a new 4-cylinder, more components, more moving parts, more wiring, all this stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that attributes to the price of the vehicle. Do you think the FJ Cruiser will come back for the 20th anniversary? That would be sweet. That would be cool, but maybe I don't know. Land Cruiser, that's a video for another time, but Land Cruiser is turning really into its own brand. What's the difference between the 4K and 8K TRD off-road package? So I don't know yet, but it just says TRD off-road package like plus and then like a premium one. So I did notice that, but there's no breakdown as to what that is, because also in the TRD off-road pricing, it shows like the price for heated seats. It shows the price also for a bigger screen. So I'm not sure what the difference. Premium obviously includes everything. I feel like it's going to include the bigger screen, the 360 camera view, the heated ventilated seats. Like the premium will have all that stuff to attribute into the price, but I'm not sure like what the TRD off-road upgrade package will have. Maybe it'll have like the storage in the bed, the inverter in the bed, power seats maybe. That's why I want the configurator to go live so we can really like break down all the packages and stuff too. Number 20 on the wait list for a Trail Hunter at the dealership, debating switching to a TRD off-road. So I think that's a good decision because 20 on the list, you're not going to get one. Like not to be a Debbie Downer, but like if you're 20 on the list for that, unless they make like so many Trail Hunters the first year, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get one the first year. So if you could get a TRD off-road right away, see if you even like the truck and like the platform, and then, the next year, maybe roll that into a TRD or a Trail Hunter. Stay on the list. Like, don't just fall off the list because you got a truck, right? But, the trucks will hopefully have a decent amount of resale value. I don't think it's going to be crazy inflated, but it'll still have a decent amount of resale value, and then you just trade up into the Trail Hunter as well. David said, how stiff is the ride in the new off-road? So the new off-road was actually surprisingly soft, if that makes sense. He says, I'm looking to benefit from the coil springs with my old lumbar spine. So not only the coil springs, but also the Bilstein suspension. It was very soft. To be honest, so I drove a TRD off-road home. I haven't edited that video yet because I just wanted to do this live stream with you guys. And everyone and their mother just threw out, TRD off-road videos here, these videos here, here's our driving impressions. That's why I wanted to do the live stream instead. But like, I remember the TRD off-road being my favorite to drive on the road, which was strange. Over the TRD Sport, over the SR5, it just felt, one, it felt at home because I have a bunch of off-road vehicles and it felt a little bit better, but it just felt softer. And like the Bilstein suspension off or on road actually felt good to me. I know that the straight pipes, they had a TRD off-road in Canada and they said that they didn't like the Bilstein suspension on it. They said that it was kind of stiff. I didn't experience that really at all. Maybe theirs is configured a little bit different up there and it's like a super pre-production. I have no idea, but I didn't feel that it was stiff on the road. But I'll follow up with you guys with that too, because my personal truck will be a TRD off-road and I'll talk about road tripping and all that stuff as well. All right, we're gonna be wrapping up soon. I appreciate everyone. We're gonna skip a couple more questions to catch up, but we're doing pretty solid now. Again, I appreciate everyone's comments. If I did not get to you guys in this live stream, it was kind of wild. If you guys can all just leave a like on this video before you guys head out and go on to the rest of your night, I'd truly, truly appreciate it. Leaving likes on people's YouTube videos, like, I don't ask for them, but like, it really helps a creator out with the whole YouTube algorithm. So I just know that there's a lot of you guys in here, so I appreciate it. That helps also people see this video after it's done being live. Other creators or other viewers will be able to see it. At what point is it smarter to just buy an SR5 Tundra instead of a higher trim Tacoma? So that definitely goes based on what you like out of the vehicle, right? If you don't need a full-size truck, if you want a truck that gets a little bit better of gas mileage, right? If you live in the city versus like out in the boonies where a big truck would be significantly more beneficial than a smaller truck, right? I feel like if you're gonna be towing or if you need a truck for like more truck stuff, then probably a Tundra would be the way to go. But there are definitely gonna be some people that will willingly spend $5,000 to $6,000 more on a Tacoma and buy a Tacoma at $50,000 with every single feature than a Tundra in, well, I think even Tundra SR5s are close to like $50,000, but with like way less features, you know? I think it depends on the features that people want, what they're gonna do with their truck, and if it just makes sense for them financially, really is going to be the determining factor between those. Because the Tacoma does overlap the Tundra in pricing for certain things, but it's just like, what type of truck do you need, you know? It would be cool to have a rear roll down window in the Tacoma, and even that rear window on the Tacoma is like very small. Do you feel that the new Tundras are worth the extra money for the added space and power? If you need space, then yes. Power, yes-ish too, but like the Tundra weighs so much more that the Tacoma feels just as powerful in its own way, if that makes sense. But I don't. Like, if you don't need a Tundra for truck stuff, as I was just kind of answering Kyle's question, I think that the Tacoma is a better buy. It's a little bit better, well, I shouldn't say a little bit better. It's a lot better thought out of a truck with certain things. And the reason for that, I feel like, is because the Tundra has never been Toyota's volume seller. Like, it's never been a Ford F-150 competitor, a Chevy Silverado competitor, a Dodge Ram competitor. It's never been that. And Toyota knows that. Like, it's never been a volume truck for them. So they just decided to make the truck how they made the truck. It doesn't need a bunch of the gimmicky stuff that other brands have, even though it should have had like front tow hooks. Like, there's certain things that the truck doesn't have that it should have had, but the Tacoma, that thing is Toyota's bread and butter for trucks. It's been the #1 selling truck forever. Toyota has dominated the market. So like, if they brought this 4th generation Tacoma out and it was like barely an evolution of a truck, like with features and stuff, and like it wasn't competitive, it would fall quick, because the new Colorado is honestly pretty cool. The new GMC, even though they're the same, is honestly pretty good. The Ford Maverick is very good as well. So like, I think that the Tacoma is a better buy if you don't need this space, if that makes sense. Power-wise, they're pretty dang close to the same. Appreciate it, Cruiser. You're the best, dude. Thank you for supporting the videos. I appreciate all you guys coming out tonight. It was a really cool live stream. I'm glad that I decided to just do a live stream instead of like a third video for the day. Like the turnout has been absolutely awesome. Tadia says that the new Land Cruiser or wait for a 4Runner, which would you choose? It depends on what type of powertrain the 4Runner is going to have. A lot of rumors had it that the 4Runner was going to be like the Tacoma. So like you're going to get a manual transmission in a 4Runner, or you'll have 2 engine options as well. I know that for the Land Cruiser, a lot of the issues people have is like with the batteries in the back. So the 4Runner, if they offer it not as a hybrid, I think people will like that versus being forced into a hybrid. And also with that too, depending on the battery placement of the 4Runner, if it's like the Tacoma, it may just be under the center seats instead of in the back like the Sequoia, which is like the Achilles heel of the Sequoia. It's like such a horrible rear seat situation of the Sequoia. So like for the 4Runner, you may have like a nice flat rear space for that, which would be cool. But I mean, for the channel, I'm gonna get both, or like showcase both on the channel. But to answer like Jeff's question, which one are you most excited about? Like it's the 4Runner all day. Like I'm so excited for whenever the 4Runner comes out. I hope that it's still made in Japan, guys. I hope that, you know, they can do that and just make it in Japan alongside the Land Cruiser. I'm really hopeful for the 4Runner. I went the TRD Sport. How did you like driving it? The TRD Sport was a little aggressive, but it was nice on road. It was definitely sporty. When you put it in sport mode, it had very good throttle response, a nice stiff throttle as well. Electronic power steering was great on the truck. The suspension, a little bit more bouncy than I would have liked, but not as bad as like the current Tacoma with like the leaf springs and the rear end is bouncing a lot. But you felt the road a little bit more on the TRD Sport, but the looks of the TRD Sport are great. I love the fake hood vent. The hood of this new Tacoma just looks so cool. The whole design of the truck too. So I feel like if you had the TRD Sport, and granted, unfortunately, I only drove the TRD Sport in winding canyons. I was not able to get it on a flat stretch. Toyota Jeff drove it on a flat stretch for us to get to the event, and it felt zippy and it felt planted on the highway. I did not feel that driving, but as a passenger, it felt like super nice. But in the canyon roads, just like always turning the steering wheel and always moving and stuff, it felt just a little bit bouncy, but it could have also been the roads that we were on. Do you know if the isodynamic seats on the Pro are gonna be an option? That is gonna be one of my questions to ask them come the hybrid drive, because a lot of people don't want those ISO seats. Even though they're super badass and super cool, you lose a lot of space in the back seats. You lose a lot of space, unfortunately. So it would be nice if they're an option, but I'll definitely ask that question for you guys. Turn says, have you tried the new JBL sound system? Unfortunately, I didn't. I totally meant to just like, so usually on these drive events that we have, I get in the vehicle and I just drive it first, and like I plug my phone in, listen to my music, and just do all this stuff, right? So I didn't do that on this event because there was so many trucks to drive and so much stuff to do, and the off-road course was like a good long off-road course. It wasn't like a typical off-road course that we've done in the past, which is like a quick like little 1 to 2 minute loop and like, hey, here's the truck. Like it was a very good off-road course. It was almost like the Tundra hybrid event that we did that had a nice long course. Like this course was long. We had to have a spotter because there were some hairy situations. So that took up a lot of my time. I probably spent like 4 hours on the off-road course, and the truck handled great off-road. The visibility, the higher cabin, the camera system, like everything for the truck off-road was so good. And then I got in the TRD off-road to drive home. I had my phone in. I was gonna listen to music. But I made a video for some reason about like just talking about that truck on the way home that I may not even use as a video here on YouTube. But I just talked the whole time, and I was driving down through the canyons, and I didn't go on the highway because like I was gonna try to do an MPG video on my whole drive home. But I went through the canyons and I was like accelerating it. I was like, oh, this took me back not on the highway, so I can't do an MPG video because it's totally skewed. But the truck got 20 miles per gallon, like just going down the canyons and flooring through it. So that was cool. But I did not do the JBL sound system, to answer your question. That was super long-winded, but I did not do the JBL sound system. And I really wanted to, because the truck that I drove home was a premium TRD off-road. So it had like the center channel portable JBL flex speaker and all that stuff. which that was nice because that did not like rattle off-road. My fear about that JBL thing being in the center of the dash and like removable was it would be like clunking around, and it was not clunking around. I do remember that. Comic, what is up? Yo, yo, yo. How's it going? How's it going? Roy says, TRD Sport, does it come in a quad cab, short box, automatic configuration? That it does. 4 doors, 5-foot bed with an automatic. You can get that. If you buy, what does it say? I don't even know what Comic Kitch is saying. Exactly. Do they have a transmission cooler? I believe they do. The front intercooler of the truck has multiple lines to go in certain areas. I can't remember if it has a dedicated transmission cooler. I know it has different intercoolers for like the turbo and radiator. I can't remember if it had a transmission cooler or how the transmission cools itself. Sniper says, what is the average MPG, or what was my average MPG driving? I would just say with driving at home, I got like 19 to 20. Everyone was romping on the vehicles all day. It was nice to see, like when I took another truck out, that the truck was around 15 to 16 miles a gallon. I knew people were ripping it. So like, even if people were ripping it, the truck was still around 14 to 15, which that's good because people are flooring the truck. But I'll touch base with that again when I get my own vehicle. Donna says, all right, man, this is going to be my first vehicle. I am heavily debating between a 23 or waiting for a 24. Do you think I can get an SR5 four-wheel drive for around 45 out the door? So the SR5 four-wheel drives, they're at about 40. So that just depends on the tax, depends on what options the truck has, and your dealer, if they do dealer fees or certain things on the truck. So I think it's definitely doable, especially if you don't like get an immediate 2024 and you're able to get like a little bit of a discount on one later in the year, especially if interest rates stay high. But 45 out the door, I see that definitely being doable, especially with like some incentives and some discounts at the end of the year. Have you spec'd out a limited Tundra to what would be standard on a limited Tacoma? No, I haven't, but I think that would be a very good video, and I'm actually going to write that down, that like a Tacoma is more expensive than a Tundra, because that's actually a really good video. Oh, I had a pen right there the whole time. Tacoma Limited versus Tundra. That would be cool too for like breakdown and stuff as to what you like get in each vehicle. That would be a really good video. I appreciate that. Cameron says, I work at a dealership. I got the package pricing for the new Tacomas, and the only thing that threw me off was $8K for the premium off-road. Yeah, that sucks, because like I didn't realize like it was going to be that much for a Tacoma premium. I was really hoping that when I saw the TRD off-road pricing, I was like, okay, maybe like a $45,000 truck, $46,000 truck, but $50K? Yeah, we're going to break that down though. All right, Donna already asked that. Did the windows rattle? They did not, thank God, in that one. I'm number 4 here on my dealers at the largest in my state. Do you think that may be fine? So if your dealer is the largest in the state, they may get a couple, and they may get up to 4. I'm not sure how many trail hunters they're going to be making. I'm not sure if it's going to be like the TRD Pro where it's a limited number of volume. The Trail Hunter may just be its own thing, and they may make a lot of them. But I do know that it's only going to be available towards the end of the year, and then they're going to start April, so like Q1 into Q2 of next year, and then eventually the 2025s. But I think that it'd be fine. What did you think of the removable speaker? So I was not able to use it or pair it. I did not even think about that. I apologize. But as I did mention though, it did not rattle in place, which was cool. I was very scared or skeptical that you have a speaker that just sits in your dash. I thought it was going to bounce all over the place, but like I messed with it. Like I took it out and like set it back in. And it's pretty solid. From the experience, Tacoma is not a good family vehicle. I had a Tacoma and one child, definitely feels small for sure. It's good like if the kid maybe is like up to 5 years old or 6 years old, we don't have kids, but like I could imagine, you know, kids getting bigger or like gear and all that stuff in the truck as well, you would most likely want a full-size truck. I could see a mid-cycle refresh coming for the Tundra. That would be nice because I said I wanted to keep that truck until the mid-cycle refresh, but hopefully they fix some stuff that is that's wrong with the current one before a mid-cycle refresh. Tier D off-road with or without premium package. You get a lot of stuff with the premium package. We're gonna break it down to see if it's worth the $8,800, but yeah, it's quite a bit. Oh, we got a donation from Enzo. Hey, from Argentina. I don't know what 200 is in your guys' currency, but whatever it is, I appreciate you, man. And I'm so excited about the new Tacoma, but sadly, we won't have it here. We have the Hilux and hope to share the TNG platform with Tacoma, but I always follow you. Thanks. Great job. Dude, thank you for you, man. Thank you for coming out. I have no idea what time it is even in Argentina. That's just so awesome. Thank you so much. You guys do get the Hilux, which is crazy that areas of the world want the Tacoma and we want the Hilux here. Like, not that we don't want the Tacoma, like we want both. Like, we want a diesel version of the Hilux here in the States and we also want the Tacoma, but it's just crazy that other areas in the United States or in the world want a Tacoma as well. I just think that's really, really awesome. But Enzo, thank you so much. You guys don't have to donate, but that just popped up and I just saw it. So thank you so, so much. I appreciate you. And that is definitely a way to get your comment highlighted. So thank you so, so much. Gonzo says, what packages are on the SR5? I just posted an SR5 video actually, and it showed some of the breakdown in that video. So as I enter the interior of that vehicle, I show some of the package stuff that you can get on the Tacoma with a breakdown as well of the price. If you want to see that, that is on that video that I just posted. Tyler says, how you doing today, buddy? Doing great, dude. We had a bunch of people in here. We're only gonna go for another 4 minutes, which means like we've been on for almost 2 hours, which is crazy. But I appreciate it. And 136 likes. Bro, we had like 300 people in here. What the heck? But I appreciate everyone for that. When is it coming out? Trucks are starting to get built in December and into January, but I feel like we'll start seeing them at the dealerships come January. I was really, really hoping that it would be in December. Like, I was really, really wanting the truck in December, but it's looking like it's gonna be more towards January. Does the 2024 Tacoma have an automatic start-stop for the engine? It does, but it's super easy to shut off. It's right there at the center of the console. Press it, turn it off. But I didn't really notice on this truck it wanting to shut off, unless it doesn't, unless I'm thinking of another switch there. But like, for my Tundra, like, I don't press the button because the Tundra, it's really nice because like if you depress the brakes, you know, you don't slam on the brakes, the engine won't shut off, and you'll have like a little thing that pops up on the screen and it says depress brakes further for engine shut off or whatever. And the only time my truck shuts off is stupidly, and I hate this, is when I put it into park when I get in my driveway, because you have to put your foot on the brake and put it into park. The truck shuts off and turns back on. Like, that's horrible for it. Like, it just does it so fast. But I don't recall the Tacoma doing that. I'm pretty sure if the button is there, it's either right there in the center of the console, I think, or it's over on the left-hand side. I can't honestly remember. AZ says, what are your thoughts on the pre-runner? I loved the pre-runner. I don't know why. I've always been a fan. I grew up in Southern California, so like the pre-runner mindset and like a Baja two-wheel drive truck, like I know what that truck is supposed to be. A lot of other people, like, you know, East Coast or up north, they have no idea what like a desert pre-runner is. Like, some may have a concept of what it is, but they don't really know exactly what it is. Growing up in San Diego, there's pre-runners everywhere, right? Like, that was one of the most popular first generation Tacomas was a pre-runner, a two-wheel drive, access cab, 6-foot bed, two-wheel drive truck that was lifted up just as tall as the Tier D off-road, because it was actually, I think, called back then Tier D off-road pre-runner. I think it's cool. You can engage the rear locker until 63 miles an hour or 62 miles an hour on that truck, which is wild. So that's so cool to have a rear locker on the truck while you're off-roading. If you need to go slow and hook up that rear end, you can, and both tires will be going at the same time. Or if you want to have some drifting sessions with it, you know, as long as your speed RPM or your speedometer doesn't, you know, tick past 62, 63 miles an hour. Dude, the pre-runner's sick. Like, I'm eventually, for the 4th generation Tacoma, I want to do a pre-runner build. But, you know, first things first, I want to do a TRD off-road. I want to see how the TRD Pro is and how the hybrid powertrain is eventually. But I think it'd be so sick to have a TRD off-road or a TRD pre-runner on the channel. I love the what's the gray color? The underground color on it. It looks so sick. Like, it's very, very cool. Manual transmission in a Hilux diesel, identical ratios to the gas. Yeah, and the crazy thing is that, like, it felt like a diesel. Like, I know that the 2.4 was not a diesel, but the low RPM range, the way the engine idled, it felt like a little diesel. It was kind of crazy. Tyler says, what do you think of the new Toyota Tacoma? Any thoughts on it? Bro, that's what this whole thing is about. It was great. And then obviously you're just joining in, which is totally cool. But it was great. The truck handled very, very well. I am not going to miss the V6 out of my other Tacoma. The 3rd gen's great. It had its place. It had its time. It's reliable. But this new truck just drives so much better throughout the hills. Going downhill, like, it kind of like engine braked a little bit because it knew that you're going to go back up a hill, and it was already in peak power. Good amount of torque. Super excited for the hybrid powertrain. The transmission, buttery smooth. The manual transmission, very good as well. I had no real negatives leaving that event. Like, I couldn't really think of anything. The only, like, negative experience I had was with the manual transmission, and it's because I don't drive a manual all the time. So I stalled it a couple times, couldn't get in the groove, but as I drove it, like past 30 minutes or so, then I was like, okay, and now I'm shifting it, and I have an idea of how the truck is. So that was, like, the only negative experience I had, and it was self-induced because I don't drive a manual transmission that much. But it was a great truck, dude. I'm so excited for it. I was telling the chief engineer, Sheldon Brown, like, and other people too in that area, like, I was trying not to go in there with, like, such high hopes, not because, like, I didn't want to be let down, but, like, I didn't want to just fanboy too much. But it was properly good as well at the end of the day. Dan says, curious question about Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 stop and go cruise control. Does it work with the IMT? That's a good question. I don't think it would. Because, like, if you're going 50 miles an hour and you're in 5th gear or 6th gear at that point, and, like, you come to a stop with it, I don't think it would just start in 5th gear. Like, it may start to slow down for you, and you may have to adjust it, or it may only be good and turn on at certain speeds. That's actually a very good question. I didn't even think to ask that. That's next level question. That will be something, though, that we look into in the manual maybe, or I could ask someone at Toyota. Like, that's a super good question. I didn't even think about that. Dune Dude, I love that Can-Am, dude. That thing's sick if that's yours. I roll with my wife, 2 kids, and 2 dogs in my double cab Tacoma. All good until someone farts. Bro, and if it's the dog that farts, they are always the worst too. That's great though. That's awesome. Great live stream, man. Can't wait for you to get the truck showed off. I can't wait to show this truck for you guys. It's gonna be so good. And, like, what I'm super excited for as well is a truck with final, like, parts on it, because all these vehicles that we saw, they were all pre-production still, which was kind of crazy. Tons of shiny fit and finish parts on these trucks, but they were still solid. So I am very excited to have my truck with all the fit and finish materials, all the soft touch, all the good texture plastics, and, like, actually see a finished truck, because, like, we have yet to see a finished Tacoma to really see how good the interior actually is. do you think that the MPG and price are going to be worth it? I personally do. There are some people that don't think it, but after driving it and seeing all the standard features that the truck has and just kind of better performance and more premium features on the inside, the screen's better, just so much things are better with this truck. The price to me isn't like insane like the Tundra was. The Tundra had a big jump in price. This truck doesn't. Excuse me. The MPGs, I personally do wish was a little bit better, or like a letdown show question like 45 minutes ago, like the tank size. I don't like that the gas tank size went down to 18.2. I don't like that. It's all good though. But yeah, what was I saying? I think that the price is going to be worth it. The MPG, that's negligible. I mean, it did go up, but we're not going down to a 4-cylinder for better pricing or for better MPGs. It was more for emissions, so I think it's going to be. Cordetti, dude, thank you again. You guys don't have to do this. I know 25 Canadian, man, that's a good bit, so I appreciate you so much, dude. I need to get onto your videos and say what is up back. And Enzo, becoming a member, all you guys last minute, man, I appreciate you guys so freaking much. You guys don't have to do this. I truly, though, appreciate it. Corey Daddy says, and if you guys go, you see the dude on screen right now? If you guys like more Toyota content, he just picked up a Tundra. Head on over to his channel. Check out his new Tundra. He got an SR. So that is not really on YouTube because so many people do TRD Pros. So many people do like more expensive trucks. Budget truck. Excited to see his build go on. That's little dude right there on the screen if you guys see it. Click his little donation right up there at the top of the screen and head over to his channel because we're almost done here. My 2019 Tacoma TRD Pro did regulate the speed when I use cruise control for a manual as well. Okay, so that may be it. It may just regulate the speed, but with Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, it may not go down to 0. And no, I appreciate you, man. Last few questions. Alan says, I just bought a used 2015 4Runner Trail. Very cool. What are your thoughts on selling it and getting a 24 4Runner in underground? Dude, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it. So, spoiler alert for the last few people that are in here. The poll, and if you guys are new to the channel and you haven't seen the poll yet or whatever, I did a poll the other day asking about certain projects for the channel. And I want to see real quick one of them to see if it adjusted over time. But we're going to view my account real quick, go to community and check out the poll. And the vehicle that came in last, I have an idea about. So on the community tab over there, to answer your question, I think that the 4Runner and Underground will be sick because if you want to upgrade to a 2025 4Runner, if that is when we're getting the 6th gen, but now a lot of big news outlets are saying that we're going to be getting the 6th gen in 2025. So if that is the case, you'll have an Underground color, which technically isn't Terra, right, for the exclusive color, but it will be the only TRD Pro style in Underground. Granted, you could get a TRD off-road and stuff in Underground, but it'll be the only year of Underground for a Pro, and that thing will hold its value like crazy. So if you could get a good sell or a good trade-in on your trail, upgrade to the latest and greatest, the last of the 4Runner with all the specs, the CarPlay, the radar, like not crazy tech, but it still has a good amount of stuff, I would make that happen if the money and everything makes sense. That could be a project that happens here on the channel very soon. Just doing one last 4Runner build, one last build of a vehicle. Basically, the 4Runner is like what started my channel, and a lot of the videos that I did with the 4Runner are pretty old. So it'll kind of be like we're revisiting those with the 5th gen 4Runner, leading up until the announcement of a 6th gen, and then doing hopefully something fun with that 4Runner that we built up. So that's an idea in my head that I'm toying with because there's an opportunity for a 5th gen, a very good opportunity. I may just make it happen, even though that poll that I did, because there was like no context to it, The 4Runner got in dead last place, but there was no context to it. But I think if I fill everyone in on what's going on, I think people will be super happy with it. 10 says, hey buddy, great live stream. How did the power feel? I know it went way up on paper. Power felt great. The low end torque at 1700 RPMs, money, felt good. I can't even imagine how good the hybrid's gonna be. Felt good. The transmission felt great. It held very well, was not gear hunting. The truck was very good. Charles says, what did you think of the LA Auto Show overall? Some of the brands like GMC and Ram weren't present. To be honest, it was hyped up a bit more than what was there. It was kind of small. GMC wasn't there. Ram wasn't there. Other car brands weren't there. Like, I wanted to see Lamborghini. I wanted to see Ferrari. I wanted to see like all these cars. Like, I want to see everything. But there wasn't that much there, honestly, at the LA Auto Show. I thought that it was one of the bigger auto shows. I guess that's like Detroit or Chicago or something like that. Like, I felt like Chicago had way more cars than the LA Auto Show did, at least at the time. So Toyota's presence and Lexus's presence at the LA Auto Show was actually really good. Like, they had everything. The only letdown was Toyota didn't have the Land Cruiser. I didn't showcase the Land Cruiser at SEMA because, like, I could have sworn that they would have had it at the LA Auto Show, and they didn't, so that's on me. I wanted more time with the Land Cruiser. But yeah, GMC wasn't there because I really wanted to check out the Sierra. Ram wasn't there. I really wanted to check out the new Ram 1500. That wasn't there. It was fine. It was fine. I wish it was a little bit better, but it was good. Last few questions, we got Avanchent and Tyler with one more. But it says, I'd love a TRD Pro with a 6-foot bed if they made it, but looks like the TRD off-road would have to do. Excited to see that hybrid MPG. I am too. I hope it goes up 2 to 3 in the city. If you want a TRD Pro with a 6-foot bed, that's not going to happen because they like to keep that truck short and good for like fast speed desert kind of racing. But if you want something similar to a TRD Pro, look at the Trail Hunter, because the Trail Hunter is going to be a hybrid only. It's going to have good aftermarket suspension, a very unique interior, just like the TRD Pro, unique body cues on the outside with the bronze accents, and you'll be able to get it with a 6-foot bed. Tyler says, do you have any other thoughts on the new Tacoma? I think that the truck is nice. I like the interior and designs. Man, not a lot. Like, aside of being good and like all of my hopes and like desires for the truck, like what I had in my mind of how good it was going to be, like they were literally all answered. Like, it drives better than my Tundra. I enjoyed driving it like more than my Tundra, which that says a lot because I don't know what those are for. It's my thing doing it because I'm using my phone. It was really good. Like, Craig, the powertrain engineer, says if you like driving your Tundra that much, you're gonna love driving this Tacoma, and he was 100% right. Like, it drove very good. Again, it wasn't even the iForce. It drove very good. Of all my keys and all the Toyota vehicles that I have, like, I always, even though the window pisses me off with the Tundra, I will still choose to drive that, like, sometimes over the 4Runner. Even though I've been driving the 4Runner a lot lately, just because I love it. The Tundra I choose to drive more just because of the power and the comfort, but this Tacoma was proper in that in its own way. It was really good. I can't wait, like I said, to just have mine with all the finished pieces, or at least like just see a Tacoma with all the fit and finished pieces and just like how good they're actually put together. Peter says, would love your opinion on Canyon versus Tacoma. The Canyon is better than the Colorado. If that's the case, then it may be a contender, because the Colorado Trail Boss that I sat in at the LA Auto Show was so cheap. Like, it was so cheap. But the design of the Colorado I like. The Canyon AT4X is badass. Like, that is a cool looking truck. Like, that is a really cool looking truck. Lots of good features. I would like to sit in one of those. I would have to find like a GMC dealership near me to do that opportunity. And then last question from Brian. I appreciate everyone for hanging out. Do you know if the manual transmission is available in 4-door SR or SR5 4-wheel drive trim? I believe it's just the SR. I don't think that SR5, if I am proper with this, SR5 does not have any manual transmission options, but you can get a SR 4-wheel drive double cab 6-speed manual transmission. So no SR5 from what I see on this sheet with a manual transmission, but you can in the SR. And then Seth sneaking in one last question. Don't know if this has been brought up yet, but will Tacoma have a generator mode? I'm not sure, but with the hybrid ones, you are able to have a 2400 watt inverter in the back of it. So I'm not sure how that will, factor out, like if you need to have the truck on or just press a button and like the 2400 watt inverter will just work. I'm not really sure with that, but we'll see. And yep, it is getting a little bit late here, 8 o'clock. I hate how quick the sun goes down, guys, but I appreciate you all watching. Go check out other people's videos on this. I just did a SR5 video. It's the video that got taken down from Toyota, so it's not doing as good as it was before, but still answer some good questions in that video for you guys. And also, I put some decent pricing up there as well. Is the ECT power button now a sport button? I think I did see the ECT power button on one of the models, if I do remember. But yeah, the SR5 video is out there if you guys want to go check that out. Tons more content coming on the Tacoma, but I'm going to try not to overdo it and shove Tacoma content down your guys' throat, because we have stuff still going on with my 3rd gen before I sell it this week, hopefully. Tundra stuff, 4Runner stuff, and new potential stuff as well. And Seek Jackers. I have to put those in my Tacoma before I sell it too. Ronald says, hey John, how are you? Ronald, we're heading out. Hope you're having a great night. Hope you are too, man. Bit out of context here, but was the leaked price of the Trail Hunter and the size is the same for the Taco? I think that one was legit for the GX. We will see, because Lexus hasn't officially put it on their site yet, but it looks like it was all kind of the same documentation that we just got for Tacoma. It looked pretty legit, like the dealerships had that stuff. But guys, Enzo, appreciate you, Cordetti, everyone tonight. Thank you guys so much. I will catch you guys in the next video. All right, see you guys.